Well, hello, hello, hello. Just imagine that nothing wrong happened, okay? That was technology that I appeared late. So let's talk about not thinking negative, since technology just kind of make it negative for a second. But let me just read something for you. Negative nonsense, demanding people, and painful circumstances all take up space within our personal bubble. For many of us, our boundaries have been too permeable for far too long. The result is a negative mind soup that penetrates our soul. One alarming consequence is that the destructive garbage in our minds often comes out of our mouths and becomes apparent in our actions when we don't expect it to. True. The result is a tidal wave of stress affecting all in its wake. Kind of like tsunami. Well, I'm adding that. That's not written. Okay. Today, I tell myself I'm determined to take the garbage out, stretch, uh, set strong boundaries, and diminish stress levels. How will I do this? The negativity bubble that is, we need to realize that we can't possibly control every argumentative person and every negative circumstance. We do, however, have control over our reaction to the negativity directed our way. We must take the helm and learn to catch and flip negative situations. I just love that, catch and flip. When we feel suffocated in a sea of adversity, we must summon the courage to acknowledge it, catch it, and flip it into a positive. For some, this may seem like an exercise in futility, but I assure you it's not. By acknowledging negativity, we become aware. Now, let me be very clear. These are not my words, okay? These are words of a phenomenal author, a phenomenal person, a phenomenal friend, and a kindness champion that I would love you to meet. So if you're tuning in for the first time, this is All Up in Your Business, and I'm Szebastian Onne, and you're watching Dramaniac TV. So let's talk about my guest tonight. This is a premium edition. So season one, episode one of premium edition of All Up in Your Business. And I have a premium guest. This woman, I don't think she's just a friend. I just posted on my Facebook that calling her a friend is an understatement. She's a mentor, she's a guide, she's a phenomenal, as I said, kindness champion. I don't know how many times I have been a pain, but she's just said, no worries, let's do it again. No worries, let's work it out. Tell me when you're ready. She was a doctor. Well, she still is, but she worked in medical field as a doctor. I'm not going to say it, but I'm going to say it. She's going to correct me later. So podiatrist is what she was. Okay. And I know you will correct me if I'm not wrong. And one fine day she wakes up and says, nope, not for me, and changes her career. And what it is, you'll find out in a second. So I'm talking about Dr. Shelley Plumb. As you can see, her smile, her laughter, her personality, her beauty, inside out, is beyond words amazing. She's incredible. And since I can see her in the green room, I can tell you she looks even more incredible today. So without much further ado, let me show you a little bit about Dr. Shelley Plumb. And that's Dr. Shelley Plumb. So let's talk to Dr. Shelley Plumb. Hey, Shelley, how are you?
It is so, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. You know what? The feeling is certainly mutual. I love you.
And I love you too. I am grateful for you, and I think I don't know another phenomenal doctor. Slash, we're going to talk about so many more things that you are.
Right.
So,
We have a lot to
first of all, I know I think we'll need a 3 hour episode, maybe more. But before we begin, let me just make sure you understand the terms. So you know you're being interrogated, and there are no limits.
Okay. I,
All right. So are you ready?
I am ready. I was born ready.
Well, there you go. And I know that about you. So, Shelley,
Yes.
let's talk about in segment one. I want people to just know who you are, where you come from. So
Mhm.
let's begin with your childhood.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about you, the little Shelley, who you were, and tell me anything you want to share about your childhood.
You know, little Shelley is actually not too much different than big Shelley. I'm not that big, but I'm the shrimp in my house now. All my kids have surpassed me. I'm the shortest one. But anyway, little Shelley was a tomboy. I grew up wanting to hike and get out into nature and climbing trees and getting in fist fights with the local boys and doing all of that. That's what little Shelley was all about. I had an absolute love for nature. And I still do. I still love to get into nature. I feel like nature has the answers to a lot of our problems. As a little girl, I loved to study. I was kind of a nerd in some respects, but I mixed the adventure with the learning, and really, I loved my life when I was little.
Right. And, let's talk about, oh, hey, Alicia is here. Thank you, Alicia, for tuning in. And I see there's some more comments, so let's quickly acknowledge that. There you go. So you guys are talking to each other. How do you do that? You're magical too? Felicia says, hey, boo. And Stacy says, sending light and positivity to the world, and you guys should actually connect because you guys are very, very similar. So thank you guys for tuning in. So Shelley, that was you as a child, but also, you had a great relationship with your grandmother. She was someone very, very special to you. She still is. And so tell us a little bit about your childhood with your grandmother and your relationship with your grandmother.
My grandmother and I had a very special relationship, and I grew up at her house, a lot of the time. And she lived by a huge bay, so I remember, being out in nature with her and being at the bay, doing swimming, and she was just an amazing person. And over time, it's funny because as a child, she would sit me down and we would have these quiet moments together at the kitchen table in the morning before anybody would get up. And she would teach me how to play cribbage. And we would play cribbage and she would talk to me about life. And it's
Right.
interesting, isn't it? Because I really didn't listen or hear her words until
Right.
after she passed on, which was very sad for me.
So, since you mentioned that, let's talk about that. So tell us a little bit about, when she passed on, why could you not be with her? What exactly happened?
Well, it was one of, you know, I have always been, and I will admit it, I am a recovering workaholic, which I know a lot of people out there probably can relate to that. And being
Mhm.
busy, 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 I was so engrossed with my work. My grandmother had breast cancer and she was sick, but I didn't realize the extent of how sick she was. And I
Mhm.
did not know how far along she was. And she ended up passing before I could say goodbye, which is hard to talk about, and it's in my book. And it's something that I still honestly wrestle with in my head, although I
Mhm.
know in many respects that she forgives me. She's in heaven, in my opinion, and she's smiling down at me, and I love her, and that's what I'm here to say over and over again.
Right. And I know this is not directly relevant, but I just want to share it for the perspective of other people who may have been in this similar situation. So how do you resolve not having been there for your grandmother at that time? And I know you just shared that it still affects you every now and then, but
Mhm.
how do you move on with that, not knowing that you missed an opportunity which was very, very special?
I deal with that right now by realizing that I cannot fix the past and that she would want me to go on and live a life full, without regret. And so all I can do is sit here right now and reflect back on my grandmother and realize all the beautiful, valuable things that she lent to my life, and realize that that happened for a reason. That whole thing happened for a reason. And what it happened for is to tell me and to show me that I need to make changes in my life right now. And you ask me what I've done. I have made changes in my life. My friends are important to me. My family is important to me. My colleagues are important to me. You are important to me. And I will no longer, be so engrossed with work that I don't see what's going on in that aspect of my life, because that's the most important thing, isn't it?
Absolutely. And when you had that realization, we'll talk about other things that changed your life. But before that, High Tech Mother says, beautiful woman, beautiful story. Absolutely. I cannot agree more. And, you're inside out beautiful person. So when your grandmother passed away, and, it must have been really hard to actually at that moment accept it and move on. It must have been a challenge. Did it affect you personally and professionally for a long time?
Well, it did. It did. And at the time that that happened, it was a deep, dark moment in my life. It was an awful moment in my life. I was overworking myself. I had three children who were under the age of 5 years old, and I was in the beginning of a divorce process. So it was really a tough time, and it honestly led to a spiral, which I know a lot of people out there can relate to, where you sit there and say, you know what, enough is enough. I have got to
Yeah,
make changes.
right. And since you speak of divorce, that's what I want to talk in next segment. But let's just take a really quick break, and we'll be right back.
Okay.
All right, so we are back. You're watching All Up in Your Business with Sebastian, the premium edition, and with me is my not just a friend, not just a guest, but a kindness champion, Dr. Shelley Plumb. And you'll find out so much more about her. We just talked in the last segment about her childhood, her relationship with the grandmother, and the loss of grandmother, and how she passed on, you know, realizing, well, not being able to meet her at the last minute. So, and importance of not being so engrossed in your work that you lose out on very, very important moments of your life. So, Shelley, that obviously was hard, and you were talking about at that time, you were also going through a divorce. So, let's talk a little bit about that divorce. Now, on one hand, you lose your grandmother. On other hand, not just the divorce, there was so much more going on in your life. That life was changing in an incredible way. If I don't know if there's a better word for that. So tell us before divorce, what exactly was happening in your career? Because you were a doctor. I mean, title and education academically, you are still a doctor, but you left that profession. What happened?
It's interesting because at that time in my life, and you asked about the even the months that led up to that moment where I was in that deep dark place, my grandmother passed on, is there was a lot of resistance in my heart. And that resistance started out as just a little bit of an irritation, and I didn't really know what it was all about. And I like a lot of people out there, I kind of pushed it under the rug, and I'm like, everything will be okay, and you just work, 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 and keep working. And that
Right.
resistance kept building and building and building until I couldn't ignore it any longer. I knew I
Mhm.
had to make a change, and I realized it's because my passion in life did not lie with where I was at. And that's
Right.
part of the reason that my marriage failed, is because I realized at that time that my path was leading me in a different direction. So our paths as husband and wife were going in totally different directions, and they were not going to coincide. And there was a point where I realized that.
Right. So tell me about this. First of all, just to clarify, you didn't hate your profession as a doctor, did you?
No, no. As a doctor, I didn't hate my profession at all. And that resistance in my heart was what that I just spoke of. It was because I was exercising the left side of my brain for so long with the doctoring and doing that, and I was good at it, and I loved my patients. But
Mhm.
there was a point where the resistance was so high. I realized I wasn't exercising that right side of my brain. There was a creative side, and
Right.
early in my college career, I was actually a communication major. I worked for the television station, writing promos and doing all of that. And I realized when I was in that deep dark place, the last time I was truly happy about what I was doing was way back then. So what did
Right.
I do? I sat there and I wrote out a business plan right then and there.
Well, there you go. Before we go into that, I want to ask another question, kind of mixing the two stages of your life. So, do you now, after having gone through the change and everything, do you feel that at some stage you realize that, well, let me ask it a different way. Did you opt to be a doctor because of a pressure, or what was it that led you to become a doctor in the first place?
That is a wonderful question. And the answer is this, is I was really good in the beginning of my career as that communication major. I would go into
Hmm.
the television station and my heart would sing. I was fascinated. I wanted to know everything. But
Right.
I lacked, because of what I went through earlier in my childhood. My mother, as you know from reading my book, passed
Hmm.
on when I was when I was young in a car accident. And I
Hmm.
believe now that it affected my self-esteem. And what that did is I think it made me more susceptible to influences. So, in answer to your question, I had
Right.
people talking in my ear. One person saying, "You know what? You don't have the looks. You don't have the voice. You can't do that. It really, there's no career there." So, I went into medicine because that was the respectable career. And
Right.
nobody really there, and it was people actually in my college, really not my family. And
Hmm.
I did. I went into it. I studied hard. I did really good. I was at the top of my profession. But there was that resistance, because was I really doing what was true to my heart? Not really.
Right. And that is a sad thing because as you said, it wasn't family, but the influence of people around you anywhere in life, can actually affect your entire life. Because look what happened in this case. They changed your career path without you even realizing at that time,
Hmm. Yes, it's
right?
true. But you know what? People ask me all the time, first of all, how did it happen? And so I tell them the
Hmm.
story. And then also, you know what? You wasted so much time. And you know what I tell them? I did not waste any time. This,
That was going to be my question. Did you ever feel like, did you waste your time being a doctor?
no, no, not at all. This is the plan that God had for me. I learned through the whole process, life lessons about
Hmm.
people, about how to treat people, how I wanted to be treated. There was so many instances through my training where, quite frankly, I was abused, not
Hmm.
physically, but emotionally, and you know what? It forced me really to deal with situations that I probably wouldn't have dealt with.
Hmm. Okay, it looks like we have
And
lost Dr.
I
Plum.
learned a lot.
Oh, there we go. Sorry,
Hi.
I thought we lost you for a second. So do you want to start over from, saying you dealt with the situation?
Yeah, so people ask me all the time if I regret, having gone into medicine and not going into, what I'm doing right now. And I tell them no, because
Hmm.
that process was what was planned for me. That was part of my journey and what it has made me who I am today. And what I realized too is I pull so much of that in to the production aspect of what I'm doing right now. It has only made me be a stronger producer.
Well, speaking of which, so from being a doctor to a producer, oh my God, how did that happen? I know you talked about the career change. I know you talked about like, you were not following your passion, but a doctor on one hand and a producer on the other, how do the two meet?
You know what? A little at a time. And, going back to that deep, dark moment in my life, I will share with you. There was a point in my life where I kid you not, I had my sleeping infant in one hand or one arm, and I'm looking down at him.
Right.
He's sleeping. And I had the phone on my ear, and I had an irate emergency room physician screaming at me about something I had no control over. And that there, right then, something flipped in my head. I put my baby in his crib. I hung up the phone. I went to the mirror and I looked at myself and I said, "You are worth more. You are worth
Hmm.
more than this." And what I
Right.
did right then and there is I sat down with two pieces of paper, Sebastian. One of them was, what is going on in my head? What am I unhappy with in my life? And the other piece of paper is, what can I do about it? And I wrote that down. And that, what can you do about it, piece of paper turned into the business plan for Plum Talk Productions. And from there, it just blossomed. Makes my heart sing.
Wow. Now, and we also talked about the other part, the divorce. While all this was happening, the divorce was happening. So you spoke about you felt like you were going in two different directions. Give us a little bit about what exactly was happening. Was it a bad relationship? What really was going on behind the scenes?
You know what? It wasn't so much a bad relationship in that there was really no physical, well, there was no physical or emotional abuse, but we were growing in different directions, and we had three very very young children, and my life having the children as a mother changed drastically, as I'm sure many of you out there can imagine. And
Mhm.
his life didn't change so much, and there I quite frankly, being honest with everyone, I felt lonely. I felt like I was all alone, and I felt like I was
Mhm.
trying to do this job as a doctor, being on call at all these hospitals, running in and then taking care of these little ones. I felt like I was by myself, and but I realized that happened for a reason. It really helped me to awake, but from a spiritual standpoint, I not
Right.
necessarily religious, but it really was
Mhm.
a wake up call for me.
Right. And it must have been hard though, feeling that loneliness while, uh, I think it would be safe to assume, reading your book, you were or otherwise in a decent marriage. There was no others, there was no abuse or there was no problem, and you had a good career. So you had everything. If you look at it from societal viewpoint, it's you had a great life. You had a good career. You had a great family, but you felt lonely. It must have been hard trying to explain to people why so much is changing.
Yes, and you know what? You're right. I mean, definitely and people are still confused today. It's definitely a topic of conversation. How did you go from here to here? And
Because people bring their own assumptions and their own oh, it must be this, oh, she's hiding something, right?
yeah, and from an outsider looking in, it absolutely looked like I had the perfect life. I had a job, I had a husband, I had kids, but I was not happy. I didn't have that passion in my heart. I had a husband who didn't understand and understand where I needed to go. I had no help. So I really I felt like I was imprisoned. I felt like I was in a straitjacket. And it was
Right.
a really lonely, terrifying place to go. And I felt like I didn't have a lot of support.
Right. And the minute somebody feels you don't have a support, you're not only alone, you're also terrified because you don't know where to go now. You don't
Mhm.
know what's next
Right.
because you kind of are cocooned in one single place, right? Let me just quickly take a couple of comments. So I see some comments. Oh, we already see that. High Tech Mother said, beautiful woman, beautiful story. And Sanjit says, that is so inspiring, Shelley. Absolutely. Anybody who knows you knows that you are an inspiration. And High Tech Mother says, wow, what a big change, Shelley. So brave. And I kind of feel like you didn't have a choice because when your heart wants what it wants, it's
Mhm.
not even about being brave. It's about you just have to take an action, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. There's a section in my book where I talk about a song that impacted my heart to the point where I get teary-eyed about it. And it's called
Right.
Quiet Song. And you probably know that section of the book. And in the
Yep.
lyrics, it says, there is a fire burning deep in my heart, in my soul. And that is exactly what was happening, is that I knew that I was going in this direction, but that
Hmm.
direction was not meant for me. I knew I had to
Yeah.
go this direction, but there were two gremlins on each shoulder. One is a good gremlin saying, you need to go down that road, honey, you're
Right.
you need to do it. The other one's like, are you crazy? And this
Yeah.
gremlin, the one telling me I was crazy, ruled me for years, years and years.
Uh,
But can I tell you that fire burning deep in my soul, it just
Yeah.
went hotter and brighter with each year until I couldn't ignore it anymore.
Yeah, it just, the bubble just goes like, that's it. I've had enough. I need more from my life. I need something different. And Dr. Jarrett says, I love it when doctors do something different in their life. Awesome. And, Dr. Jarrett is doing a lot of things. So, if you guys have not seen, go and watch our shows. And there's different shows about with Dr. Jarrett as well. And High Tech Mother again says, oh my God, that must have been hard. And yeah. So all this is going on. The career is changing. You're taking you have a business plan. You're making a big shift. The divorce is happening. And how difficult was it to break it to your then husband? And what happened after?
Well, you know what? It was, I don't know. It was definitely very hard for me to bring it up. And I didn't for probably years. I was feeling it, but I just kind of sequestered it. And then, one day I definitely had to bring it up. I brought it up calmly. I brought it up methodically and as loving as I possibly could. And he accepted it. I think that he probably knew, uh,
Hmm.
what was going on. He was sad. And to this day, can I tell you, I wish him no ill will at all. I want
Right.
only the best for him. And if he's out there listening, I want only the best for him. And I have three incredibly beautiful children because of him. And but was it
Well,
hard?
I have to. Sorry, go on.
But was it hard? Absolutely hard. And it was hard for both of us. And uh, now we're friends. We're friends again.
Well, that's what I want to really get into. Uh, that very moment when you decided to tell, that would have been the biggest challenge.
Mhm.
And what went through your mind, just the minute before doing that?
What went through my mind is I had those two gremlins on each shoulder. One is like, you know what, you need to do this. That
Yeah.
fire burning deep in your soul is not going to go down or die down until you do. The other one was extremely afraid of hurting him. And
Right.
also secondarily hurting my children. I was terrified for them, and terrified, because I was married for 18 years. So
Right.
being by myself and being on my own was a scary prospect. Although in the latter part of my marriage, I felt like I was alone.
And that's exactly what stops a lot of people from making these decisions, because you're scared of being alone, you're scared of what's next, you don't know what's on the other side. And especially in the cases, I know, you had a great career, but there are lots of women out there who just become wife. They just become a wife,
Mhm.
and they don't know how to get out of that. So just for a second, let's shift from you to, women out there. What would you say to those women, whether they have a career or they're housewife, if they're going through this, and if they need to make that exit, and if they need to take a, either a U-turn or a right turn
Right.
to get to their destiny, what would you say to them struggling with
Well,
taking that decision?
I can tell you, I'm not a psychologist, but I can tell you that I firmly believe that everybody's situation is different in many respects. But this is what I can tell you, and this is what I I know that I would have done differently, is when you feel resistance, meaning in the
Hmm.
form of something is just not right inside of your heart. If you feel that, pay attention to it, because it's
Right.
trying to tell you something. And if you try to ignore it, if you try to push it under that metaphorical rug, it's only going to get bigger. It's only going to get louder, and it can hurt you. And that's what happened to me. There was
Right.
relationships that were damaged. My grandmother's is one of them. I should have been more attentive, especially in the
Yeah.
latter part of the years. And I admit that, and I'm making changes. But if
Yeah.
I can give anybody advice, it would be that: do not ignore that inner passion. You
Yeah.
all out there are unique, and just celebrate that.
I think it goes back to the simple, saying that look after the number one, and then everything else, because if you don't look after yourself, how are you going to look after anything else and anyone else, right? So, from divorce, from the career shift, everything else happened. And you did mention your children. So I just want to talk a little bit about them. How was the divorce for them? Because, at that point, they were not too little either. You were 18 years together.
Mhm.
Kids kind of had grown up to some point. So how did the children take it, and how was your relationship with them and the father?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. And honestly, we waited to have children. So at the time of the divorce, they were my oldest was really 4, and then I had a 3-year old,
Right.
and then I had a 1 year old. So they were little, and I can tell you that it affected my oldest one probably the most. And
Hmm.
it was difficult explaining to him. And it's children a lot of times when they're that young, they don't
Yeah.
always have the words they need, and they express themselves in other ways. And um, he was angry at me. He was
Right.
definitely angry at me, and it makes me sad to even think of that. And but you know what? We worked through it, and I think the best thing that my ex-husband and I did is we made sure that they knew that they were loved. And I never
Right.
talked ill about my ex-husband in front of them, because I firmly believe that they needed to know that their dad was good, and that he was
Right.
a good person. And you know what? He did that for me as well. Even though we
Right.
had our differences, the kids, we tried not to make that them part of it, and just make
But that's what it is. That is the difference, because people usually make divorce a really ugly thing. And I can't say it would have been easier for you. And some of what I've read, um, it's never easy.
yeah,
Parting ways with somebody you've spent half your life with, it's never easy. But what people do is make it a bitter interaction, make it a bitter transaction. And Johnny says, beautiful Shelley, absolutely she is, everybody agrees. See, you are. So it's never an easy transaction, whether it's divorce, whether it's any kind of breakup. It's not easy, and especially when children are involved, it is difficult. So how is your relationship now with the kids and with the father, and how is, you said you're friends, but you have a new partner, you are married, and I love John. So, I know the man, and I talked about you. If I can, we bitched about you. No, we didn't. But, we had a great conversation, and I learned so much about you, which I think no book can tell what your partners can, right?
True.
Especially if they are, if they, I,
I sure
you're,
don't tell you too much. No.
I'm just saying, I'm struggling to say that, I'm glad that I didn't get in touch with your ex, because this could have been a different show.
Oh
But
my
no, I'm kidding.
God.
I'm kidding. So, how was it with the children? And now, actually, how is it now, and with your new partner?
It is wonderful. Wonderful all around. My children now are teenagers. I have one that just graduated from high school. Yay. Uh,
Yay!
Yay! Yeah, let's celebrate. I
Yeah.
have one that's 16 and one that's 15, and I am just so incredibly proud of them. And they still know that they are loved. And can I tell you, love conquers all. Because when you're loved,
Absolutely.
everything else falls into place. And I can't tell you how proud I am of each and every one of them. My oldest is going to be a firefighter. Yay! He's so excited. And you know what it is he's passionate about that because he's heard my
Yeah.
story about people talking to my ear and me following that when I really shouldn't have. And so he's
Yeah.
doing what he wants to do. My little girl is working at her first job now, and my little boy is starting to drive. So very happy. And as far as my new husband, John, he is an angel on earth. I will just tell you that
I will agree. Actually, I will agree.
he has saved me in so many ways from a mental standpoint, talk me through things. And that's what a spouse is all about. And if he's out there and he's listening to this, I love you, honey. You are my life.
Oh, that's so beautiful. You're making me all gooey here. uh, So, and I'm just so proud that despite all of that, the biggest thing is that you maintain still, a cordial relationship all around, despite the divorce, despite everything. And of course, as I know about you, even in your profession, people still are in touch with you, and they're still proud of you, of what you're doing, and you have a lot of support, which is amazing. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next segment. Before we go into the next segment, I want to talk about something totally different.
Okay.
So as you know, I spoke to some people behind your back, and
Uh-oh.
I digged a little dirt on you. Uh, so it is being said that you are crazy about circles.
Oh, yes.
Tell us
Okay.
a little.
Can you see these earrings? They're all
Let
circles.
producer, can you please put Shelly full screen so we can see the
Okay, watch
earrings?
this. They're all
There
circles.
you go.
You see it?
Oh my God, I just noticed that. Yeah. Yeah. So
Absolutely.
what is it about circles?
You know what? It is so crazy. And I don't know. And well, I didn't know until just recently. I was thinking about it. And I, I think it means, and the reason it resonates with me is it means that we all are one. We all
Right.
come back to the same place. And and
Right.
and I firmly believe that it doesn't matter what race you are, it doesn't matter what religion, anything like that. We are all one, and we all need to treat each other with compassion, empathy, and kindness. And these circles that I wear and that I'm drawn to all the time. In fact, the light that's in front of me is a circle. I am drawn to it because that's what it symbolizes for me.
You know what? This is the first time actually I have to say that I see your background. That's not a circle, because I know you, even your background has a huge circle usually. So, uh, Reverend Alicia Pitt says hello. Hi, Alicia. We're looking forward to having you on the show soon as well. So, circles. And the second accusation is you're crazy about nature and
Oh,
green color,
yes.
the lady in the green. So tell us a little bit more about, and I think you relate circle and nature together as well, right?
I do. I do. I'm just drawn to anything with circles. I mean, flowers, there's flowers that have circles in it. And,
Hmm.
green is definitely a color that resonates with me because you know what it symbolizes to me? It
Hmm.
symbolizes peace. It
Absolutely.
symbolizes harmony to me. And quite frankly, I feel like in the profession that I'm in right now and what I'm doing and my writing that I'm doing, that is what I'm meant to do. I'm meant to foster kindness and compassion and empathy and peace. And you'll
Right.
find that with all the work that I do. That's what I try to do. And my team behind me, oh my goodness, I can't rave enough about them and I'm so grateful. So
I
incredibly.
have to agree. You have a beautiful team. I love them all. I interact with them and they're so, so beautiful people. They're so helpful, so patient, so kind. It's like you've just created an army of kindness, and I love that. You
Oh,
know, Speaking of which, let's get into a little bit not so fun side.
oh
So
no.
you are also accused that you can be a little annoying at times with your perfectionism, with
Oh,
your you can be a little bit fussy. And I'm not going to name who told me that, but it can be annoying for people. So, do you know that part?
you know what? It's not perfectionism. It's just the way it's supposed to be.
That's what every perfectionist says.
I tend to,
Ta-da!
especially, yeah, you know what? If it's not done right, then it's not done, right? So, yes, I definitely, especially everything from home to work, I do annoy people sometimes with like at work. Sometimes I'll be editing, and the person that I'm working with, yeah, yeah, I
Well,
can
let
be
me just say this. Let me just say this. It's
what.
a unanimous view amongst everybody I've spoken to.
Really, every single person I talk to,
Every single person highlighted that.
they said
but
that
but with love, I must say, with love. And they find that just one of your quirks, and they find that beautiful as well. And I personally want to say this: I'm yet to experience that, because what I have experienced in my life is you're so calm, so patient, so giving, so understanding. I don't know how many times I have stood you up and you just said, that's okay. Let's do it next time. Let's do it next time. So either I have some magical pill or something else is going on, because you've never annoyed me so far. And I somehow have managed to not annoy you so far. So, or at least I don't know.
no, you don't know, you don't annoy me at all. I think we're like two peas in a pod, quite frankly. But you know what? You give me some time, I'll probably annoy you.
Well, that's coming. All right. Let just this pandemic situation go, and we'll get close enough to
Right, right.
experience that. So, speaking of all that, we'll take a little quick break and then we'll jump into what you're doing now and how you're helping people and communities. So, we'll be right back in a second.
Sounds great.
And if you're tuning in just right now, you're watching All Up in Your Business with me, Szebastian Onne, the Almost Naked CEO, and my Dreamaniac influencer guest today is Dr. Shelley Plumb. From being a doctor to a producer, going through a divorce, but making it so amicable as you can imagine, and writing a book. So let's begin with, now you're a doctor, you're a producer, you are an author, best-selling author at that. And your book is called To Break or Bounce. That's what I was reading from people. When you tuned in, guys, that's what I was reading. So it wasn't my writing. That was this beautiful woman. So tell us a little bit about your book, and when did you decide that you need to share your story?
I decided that I needed to share my story after my grandmother passed because one of the things that she said to me over and over again as I was growing up is, Shelley, you need to write down what your all your life lessons and all your adventures and all of that. And at the time, I was busy, I was young, I was foolish. I didn't pay attention to that, but I always remembered it. And when she passed on, you know what? This is what I need to do. I need to have a life legacy. I need to write everything. I need to have a life log. And so it was really to honor her that I started writing. And now I am addicted to it. I have another book that I'm working on right now. And, you know, it really was it was like therapy to me. For those
Hmm.
of you that have read the book, you probably understand what I'm saying. It was like therapy,
Absolutely.
and it really go. You will learn so much more about me and my life and how my brain works than anything that you're.
Well, let's talk about the book a little bit. So, and I've read your book several times. I have cried, I've laughed, I've smiled, I've been amazed and mesmerized. So, I want to go into the book a little bit. First of all, the writing process itself. When you were writing, there have been situations where it was difficult to share. How did you just tell me about that moment when there were things that were heart wrenching, but you had to put them in paper?
It was difficult. It was so incredibly difficult. And in fact, it took me a while to write the book because it wasn't that I was procrastinating per se. It was that it was extremely painful for me to write about.
When you say a while, just for understanding for the audience, how long would you say, how long did it take you?
It took me 3 years.
Wow. And yeah, that's exactly why I want people to know that, it's not an easy thing writing a biography, especially when it involves your loved ones and loss
Yeah.
like that. So yeah, tell us, when you poured your heart out, especially the heartbreaking things. And, I'm very, very interested in both the grandmother situation, the divorce, the change of career. How did you manage to still go ahead and finish the story?
I knew that I had to. I knew that there was so many nights that, and I would rotate. I had certain writing places that I would go to write, and they were private places because I knew that with each subject that I would write about, I would bawl, I would cry, and so I basically would, I knew in my heart that the story needed to be told. I knew that I had
Mhm.
my own mental well-being needed to get it out. And after every section, it was so amazing. I would not want to sit down because I knew it was going to be painful. I would write and I would cry, and at the end, I'd feel so much better. And
It is liberating, isn't it? Just
really,
let it.
I know you're a
You're
writer.
not just letting it out, but you're actually putting it out in the universe. And from reading the book, I know
Mhm.
anybody who's reading it, you could have a different story, you could have a different angle, but it helps you. It helps you. For me, it was more about clarity, and I mentioned to you just recently as well. It has happened to me several times when I'm conflicted, when I'm struggling. I just go and read a couple of books that I really like that sort of resonate with me. And your book is the one that I've been lately picking up a lot. And every single time I read it, yes, I cry, but it also just helps me get over the hunch, which is stopping me, you know, um, that hurdle, that barrier that's stopping me from achieving what I need to, and I'm able to make a decision. So it is a beautifully written book. Um, so, thank you for actually writing this book, and I'm actually excited for your new book.
Oh,
Uh, you know,
I'm excited too. It was interesting because when I was publishing it, when it was about to come out, my younger son said, "Oh, are you excited? Do you want like a lot of people to buy your book?" And I said, "It was." I thought, you know what? I would love for a lot of people to read the book. but getting it out there, just getting it onto the shelves and getting it out of my head and onto paper and out there was something to celebrate for me. And I am just thrilled and at the feedback I'm getting, like from you and from other people that are reaching out. I'm just incredibly humbled and very grateful.
Now, it is absolutely a great read. And, anybody out there, producer, if you can actually put the name of the book up, please go ahead and, check out on everywhere you can buy, Amazon, other places. Just look for To Break or Bounce by Dr. Shelley Plumb. It is absolutely amazing read. You need to have it in your collection. And Shelley, let's talk about, I want to just go in very quickly into, as you were about to launch a book, COVID happened,
Oh,
you know, and your business, your book, everything. So how are you promoting the book? How, what's happening with the so what happened with the book launch and everything? Tell us a little, please.
well, the book was, we were, as you know, we were preparing a in-person big send-off for the book, a big book launch.
Right.
We were not able to do that because of our COVID friend. Um, so instead, I have been, every chance I get, I've been on interviews with different people to promote the book. And you know what? Yes, it has slowed the sales a little bit, but I'm really happy to report to everyone out there that we now have rescheduled a huge virtual book launch, and it's going to be on August 4th, and it'll be live streamed to Facebook. And you know what, Sebastian, I didn't want it to be 100% about the book and about me.
Hmm.
I want it to be about the viewers out there, and we want to, with the book launch, give people tips they need to help them to bounce and not break when adversity comes into their life. So we have fitness experts, we will have nutrition experts, we will have meditation, all of that. So I'm just incredibly excited. I hope you all can join me.
And we are actually going to have a couple of other talk shows about that. So, stay tuned on Romaniac TV because you will hear about Shelley and I coming back and talking about the book. So remember to keep an eye on that, and you can go and subscribe. That way you'll find out when we bring her back on the show. But we are not done yet. So, Shelley, uh, now you're a producer, and it's a totally different career. How are you enjoying it, and what is it about being a producer, and what is about Plum Talk Productions that you want people to know?
First of all, I can't tell you how much this makes my heart sing. You know, being and producing and writing scripts and meeting the people and the lovely people that I've been able to meet. And we, through the organization, are reaching out in so many different ways. And I told you earlier that I really firmly believe that I everything I went through was for a reason, and I was meant to spread love, to help, to be kind, that type of thing. So we
Hmm.
have amazing talk shows and projects that we're doing right now. One of them is called the Kindness Project Worldwide, where we go out for no other purpose but to deliver random acts of kindness. And oh my goodness, I'm getting chills
Tell
right
us a little bit more. Tell me more about this project because this
now.
is why I call you kindness champion because I've experienced that in personal life with you. You are a kindness champion. Whether you talk about Jan, whether you talk about anybody else in your team, I see the kindness effect that you really have. So tell me a little bit about this project.
Oh, well, we have a lot of talk shows, and that is one of them. But it's really the Kindness Project Worldwide. The mission is basically to deliver random acts of kindness. That's the first thing, to people that need it the most. And the second thing is to highlight people who are kindness ambassadors for the most part.
Mhm.
So we go out, oh gosh, we've done different shows. We've gone to assisted living facilities and danced with the people there and just delivered roses and that type of thing. We've been to centers that are in charge of getting food together for children who don't have food because of COVID. And
And I have to say, I saw some of that. Sorry for interrupting you, but I was excited and I was jealous because I was like, how can I be a part of that? I want to be in this.
I would love to include you, definitely.
Absolutely. I am in. I am in with
Awesome.
2 hands.
Okay, well, I'm going to take you up on that because
Absolutely.
the world, and it's a show that I co-host with Caroline Pena. She's an acupuncture physician. If she's out there, hello, Caroline. And we actually we're looking for people that we can highlight. People who are making a significant difference, people who are struggling in some respect. So it doesn't matter if you're in the US, Australia, Europe, it doesn't matter. Let us know. We will tell the story. And we all know with our virtual world right now, we can make something happen for sure.
And that's the thing. Right now, with situation that is happening, it is also teaching us to adapt. And this adaptation is actually helping us explore the places we have never been because we just became too complacent, too convenient. And now we realize that in a second, the world can change and we better be ready,
Yeah,
right?
right,
So, and
right.
this is where, your kindness project actually does have a lot of value. Projects like this, the talk shows like this, and everything that else you're doing, you need a lot more of that today because so much stress, so much negativity, so much anxiety is going on right now. And I think if I could, we need clones of Shelley Plumb because we need people like you all over the planet.
Oh,
So, but we can't have such an incredible person in a clone, right? We can have only one.
oh, you're so sweet. You're so sweet. I think so highly of you, and I can't thank
Uh,
you enough for everything. And Alicia and all of your team. I mean, everyone is just incredibly. You talking about my team being kind and compassionate. Well, you guys are amazing. Yeah, I sing your
Thank
praises
you.
every single day, and I am so grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, I love this, mutual appreciation club. It is absolutely beautiful. So tell me, in the closing, you're doing all this and a lot is happening and this COVID change happened. So how are you coping with it all? And, as you said, right now, the most important thing in your life is the balance and to, put your family and yourself first. So how are you managing all of this right now?
I think that, excuse me, this has been a real eye opener for me. And an eye opener in that you just hit it right on the head with balance. When COVID hit, I was working too much, and
Hmm.
again, it's one of those traps I think that we as entrepreneurs fall into that is dangerous because
Right.
your friends are not paid attention to, and your family's not paid attention to. So when COVID hit, I was forced to come home and to stay at home. So I
Right.
realized how happy I was being with my children every day, being with my husband every day. And can I tell you, we are cooking, we are going on bike rides, we're doing all kinds of things, and it has made such a difference. And even in the workplace with my team, I can see how happy they are and how dedicated they are to what they're doing. So I think it answered your question. COVID is a horrible thing for
Hmm.
so many different people, and I am so sorry for that. But if there's one positive ray of sunshine that comes out of it, is that it has personally for me brought me closer to my family, my friends, and my team members and my colleagues too. People like you.
And I think what it is it has given more room for compassion, patience, learning to be together for a long time and not being, annoyed and frustrated, but actually learning the skills to work as a team, whether it's family or whether it's work as a team no matter what, virtually and with the lack of resources and everything. So
Right.
it's just, yeah, it is. I think it is because of people like you that even a situation like COVID just doesn't seem like the challenge, and it seems like it's all going to be okay.
And eventually, I mean, if we work together, it will be okay. And
Absolutely.
I firmly believe that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Shelley. I just want to ask you one final thing. This is the longest show I've done, but this is what the premium episode is all about. All of in your business, premium is all about no, boundaries and no limits of time. So I just want to ask you one last thing. With everything that has gone on, everything that you have experienced, how has it changed you as a person?
How has it changed me as a person? It has made me a better person. Everything from my mother passing when I was a youngster to my grandmother passing and changing careers, going through a divorce, all of those things were like pieces to a jigsaw puzzle that have put me
Mhm.
together. And how it has changed me is it's made me more complete. I'm more of a complete person. And, we're talking about patience and empathy and all of that. That wouldn't happen if I hadn't put those pieces together. And
Right.
so that's kind of a roundabout answer to that. I
Yeah.
feel like I have more balance.
Yeah, universe has amazing way of teaching us lesson and teaching us where we need to be. Now I want to just take a couple of comments before we go. So I saw a couple of comments come up. Johnny said, "Yes, clones of Shelley Plum Club. There you go. Lot of people want your clones. You are so amazing that we all want the clones. All right. I think everybody would want their own Dr. Shelley Plum just so that they can always be positive and smiling, right?
The
And
perfect one? You want the perfect one? The one
Let's not get into perfectionism. And Kiki says, "Oh, she's showing girl power." So there you go. She is amazing, and she's been a guest as well. And watch our shows, guys. So thank you so much. And I just want to ask one final question to all the women out there, entrepreneurs or not, women who have not fulfilled their career dreams, women who are struggling with their marriages, women who are struggling with the change that they need. What's the message you have for them?
The message is threefold. Is that resistance that I talked about earlier in the program here is pay attention to that. That
Hmm.
is telling you something, and if you ignore it, it can hurt you. It can hurt those around you. Pay attention to balance. That is one mistake that I have made over and over, and I still struggle with it, is balance. Balancing that all important home life and taking care of you as well with your work, especially with entrepreneurs, we tend to overwork ourselves.
Equally guilty.
Yes, yes, me too. And then pay attention to resilience. You are all resilient beings, and there is nothing you can't conquer. Don't let those people talk in your ear and tell you what you should or should not do. In your heart, you know what's right for you, and
Right.
and that's it. I think those are really good things to take to heart. And honestly, I'm a work in progress. I struggle every day still, but you know what? Make it progress.
Well, there you go. So I'm going to remember RBR, resistance. Keep in mind, watch your resistance, listen to your resistance,
Right.
balance, and resilience. You know what? We could do an entire episode on that on Almost Naked Conversation. So
Right.
let's do that one day, right? Let's do that, right?
Sounds good.
Thank you so much. And Dr. Shelley, if people want to get in touch with you right now professionally for Plum Talk Productions, how can they reach to you?
They can actually, thank you very much for that opportunity. They can reach me through my website, which is plumtalkproductions.com, plum with a B, Plumb, or they can actually email me directly at Shelley, Shelley, at plumtalkproductions.com. Thank you.
And guys, we will have that information in the description soon as well. So after the show, go and look for the description. You'll find all that information. But before you go, I have one more information people should have from you. You have also launched your own author website. How can people reach to that website?
Oh, yes. My author website is Dr. Dr. Shelley, Shelley, Plumb, Plumb.com. And there you will find, our talk shows. You will find our blogs. There's all kinds of wonderful information about the book. And we have a new talk show that we're starting for all you authors out there. We have a new talk show called Author Jam, Jam. So we're going to jam with authors, and it's our way of highlighting and giving back to all the wonderful creative writers that are out there.
Well, I'm going to sign up because I am going to be an author very soon. My biography is almost finished, so I'm going to sign up.
Great.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shelley Plumb. It has been such a pleasure. I wish we could just go on and on and on, but the producer is telling me you better wrap. So thank you so much. It has been such a pleasure. And please don't go anywhere. Stay in the green room. I'll see you in a second.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you.
Absolutely an honor. So, guys, that was Dr. Shelley Plumb. Uh, You saw why I call her a kindness champion. She is more than a friend. She is more than a mentor and a guide. She's just such a positive energy. And that's the kind of people I would love to bring on my show. So if you have a story like that, if you know somebody who has a story like that, if you know a phenomenal person whose business I should get into and find out all about their journey, ask them to go to www.dramaniac.com and click on Be a Guest button. Click or tap, depending on what device you're using, and get them on the show. You can nominate your friends as well, or you can come yourself. So this is All Up in Your Business with me, Szebastian Onne, the Almost Naked CEO on Dramaniac TV. And we'll see you next time. Same back time, same back channel. And as we say on Dramaniac, sorry, I got stuck there. As we say on Dramaniac, you dream big and we make it happen. We'll see you next time.